President Donald Trump announced he had already developed a friendship with Chinese President Xi Jinping before a dinner at his Mar-a-Lago resort, where the two leaders met for the first time earlier Thursday. Trump joked, "We've had a long discussion already, and so far I have gotten nothing, absolutely nothing, but we have developed a friendship. I can see that. I think long term we are going to have a very, very great relationship and I look very much forward to it," he added. Trump and First Lady Melania Trump officially welcomed Xi and his wife, Peng Liyuan, at the doors of the Palm Beach, Florida, resort, before a dinner where Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner and Steve Bannon were also in attendance. During the meeting, the U.S. military fired more than 50 Tomahawk missiles at the al-Shayrak military airfield in Syria. The airstrikes came just hours after President Trump denounced this week's horrific chemical weapons attack as an egregious crime, saying it shouldn't have happened. And it shouldn't be allowed to happen. Outside the doors of Mar-a-Lago, Trump appeared light-hearted as he greeted Xi, gesturing and pointing to journalists as they tussled to get a shot of the two leaders together for the first time. Trump, who shared another handshake with Xi at the dinner table, suggested the groundwork for a great relationship had been laid. An entourage of family members, government officials and translators sat down for Dover Seoul and New York Steaks trip in a lavish dinner before the two leaders broached matters of foreign policy, security and trade. Jared Kushner, who flew to Iraq as the guest of Marine General Joseph Dunford, chairman of the U.S. military's Joint Chiefs of Staff earlier this week, returned to the U.S. to join wife Ivanka at the table. Chief strategist Steve Bannon was also in attendance just one day after news broke that he had been removed from the National Security Council in a move that suggested his waning influence on the president. While the president was entertaining Xi, the U.S. launched airstrikes against Syria. CNN reported that Trump had been making calls to senior members of Congress saying he is seriously considering something he said he would never do, not that long ago, which is military action in Syria. "What Assad did is terrible," the president told reporters aboard Air Force One en route to Florida, before he met with Xi. "I think what happened in Syria is a disgrace to humanity. I guess something should happen." The president issued a statement on Thursday night saying he was moved to act after Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad launched the horrible chemical weapons attack on innocent civilians. "Even beautiful babies were cruelly murdered in this very barbaric attack," he said. "It was a slow and brutal death for so many." Trump said that it was vital to the national security interest of the United States to prevent and deter the spread and use of deadly chemical weapons. "There can be no dispute that Syria used banned chemical weapons, violated its obligations under the Chemical Weapons Convention, and ignored the urging of the UN Security Council," he said. Years of previous attempts at changing Assad's behavior have all failed and failed very dramatically. As a result, the refugee crisis continues to deepen and the region continues to destabilize, threatening the United States and its allies. Xi and Trump arrived separately on Thursday, with Secretary of State Rex Tillerson greeting the Chinese president on the tarmac in Florida, where a red carpet was stretched out for his arrival. Trump touched down just before 3 p.m. Speaking to reporters who traveled with him on Air Force One from Washington, Trump was optimistic about the coming conversations. "I think China will be stepping up," he said, of the pressure he expects the country to put on North Korea. The White House is reviewing options to pressure Pyongyang economically and militarily, including secondary sanctions against Chinese banks and firms that do the most business with Pyongyang. A long-standing option of preemptive strikes remains on the table, but despite the tougher recent U.S. talk, the internal review emphasizes direct military action, the U.S. official said, speaking on condition of anonymity. Analysts believe any military action would likely provoke severe North Korean retaliation and massive casualties in South Korea and Japan and among U.S. troops stationed there. Trump, who blamed China for the loss of American jobs during the campaign trail, will also try to broach the subject of trade, he told reporters on Thursday. We have been treated unfairly and have made terrible trade deals with China for many, many years. That's one of the things we are going to be talking about, Trump said. Tillerson said, even as we share a desire to work together, the United States does recognize the challenges China can present to American interests.